Hey everybody, it's Mr. Marshall at Stony Lane. How are you? So I have a great book for you that I think you're just going to enjoy. It's a really fun story, and it's called Duddle Puck, the Puddle Duck. Look at these beautiful illustrations. This part of the book, when you open it up, is called end paper. And sometimes when you look at end paper, the artwork that's on there helps you to know something about the story. So, for example, in this book, this beautiful artwork that's done in what's called watercolor helps you know something called the setting of the story. The setting is where and when the story happens. So this story looks like it's happening on a farm, right? And isn't that a beautiful, beautiful painting of a farm? So that's called watercolor. And it's a special kind of painting that they do, and they use water. And you can see like the pictures, they're a little bit cloudy. That happens in watercolor. But that's a really beautiful way to paint a picture, isn't it? So let's read our book, Duddle Puck, the Puddle Duck. Here we go. Silly Duddle Puck was a funny puddle duck. All the critters said, he's a very odd duck. He never ever quacked, but he often liked to cluck. Puddle Duck, what a silly puddle duck. And here, Puddle Duck is saying cluck cluck, kind of like a chicken, that's right. Duddle, Henny squawked. Ducks should always quack. A proper puddle duck should really know how to act. Duddle only giggled and threw his head back. He honked, but he never ever quacked. Honk honk. Silly duck, right? Gilly Goose waddled by, and she looked a little shocked. She honked, My dearest Duddle, that is not how ducks should talk. She flapped her wings indignantly, and feathers fluttered loose. Remember, you're a duck. You're not a noble goose. See, there's watercolor here too. Isn't it pretty? Let's keep going and see what else Duddle Puck does. But Duddle only smiled, and he did a little jig over to the wallow where he spied a spotted pig. Oink, oink, said Duddle, but the pig just sputtered back. Ducks should never oink. They really ought to quack. Oink, oink. Do you think this duck is just being silly? Or is he really confused? I don't know. But Duddle didn't quack, as a proper duck should say. Instead, he wandered to the barn and bellowed out, I bet you know what he's going to say, right? He bellowed out a neigh! Hank the horse was stunned. He was taken quite aback. Dogs should never neigh. They really ought to quack. He's really confusing everyone, isn't he? Duddle danced and sang cluck, honk, oink, neigh, and everyone was shocked when he added hip hip hooray! Gilly Goose was flustered, and she fussed, It's just our luck. This bird brain doesn't know that he's actually a duck. Oink, cluck, honk, neigh, hip hip hooray! Silly duck, right? Silly, silly duck. Henny called a meeting for the critters on the farm. Duddle's quite befuddled, and it's causing me alarm. We have to teach this duck the way a puddle duck should speak. After all, he has a bill. He doesn't have a beak. This book rhymes, and it helps me read it, you know? The animals lined up and hollered, Duddle, please come here. They all spoke out very slow and very clear. This is how a duck should sound. You've gotten way off track. Then each and every critter quacked and quacked. Take a look at that. All the animals and all the farmers are quacking. Such a silly story, isn't it? Duddle winked and smiled. Yes, it's true I am a duck, and at times I like to moo, or oink, or maybe even cluck. But not one of you is a duck. And Duddle giggled out with glee. And yet you all just sound just like ducks to me. Duddle tipped his head and said, I'll do this just for you. And then he roared a mighty quack. A doodle doo! And that is the end with that beautiful end paper again. Such a silly story, right? Such a silly story. Well, I hope you enjoyed it. And I'll be back and read you another story next time.